fasting, trading, and Ramadan vibes with a Muslim crypto pro and a regular to the channel, regular guest rather. Solid crypto, brother. I know you're fasting right now. How you feel?
hmm Yeah, I'm doing all right actually. Yeah, I mean, we're just like on the halfway mark now, so on the 15th day. So um, after like the first week, it's a bit tough, but you get used to it after a while,
That's what we're
I
talking
find.
today because today is the halfway mark. So the first question I want to talk about is how do you balance like fasting and staying sharp, especially for crypto trading? Because you're big into swing trading, especially
Mm.
like with all the market swings happening right now. Because you obviously you're hungry, you're thirsty. I know that you guys before sunrise, you guys eat and drink, and then basically you go all day before sunset, before you can eat and drink again, break fast. And just want to make a note that at least it's winter time for the U.S. Muslims in the U.S. Winter days are actually a bit shorter, as you know. Well, a lot shorter than summer days. In the
I
summertime,
see.
it could be like 6:30 a.m. Especially if you're in a place like Arizona, maybe 5:30 a.m. 5:30 a.m. sunset or 5 a.m. sunset until like 8:30 9 p.m. Sorry, sunrise 5 a.m. 5:30 until sunset, which is like I don't know, like not 8:30 9 p.m. sometimes. So how do you
I
balance it though,
see.
the trading and the fasting and everything, staying sharp?
Yeah, so for me then it's usually about I mean if you finish work and stuff, allow yourself like a bit like time to like wind down for a bit, before you do your trading and stuff like that. I sort of like I set aside like a certain either 30 minutes or an hour's block for like focusing. I mean, like I was saying, the first few days when I did it, it was quite hard to focus. I felt like really tired and stuff. But after a while, of like fasting in general, like, your focus levels actually improve, and you tend to forget about the hunger and stuff.
Is it
It's
because
only
a lot of people say that actually when you're fasting, you're actually sharper because your body's not busy digesting. Do you notice that trend or no? Once you get used to it?
that is correct, yes. So therefore, like you're not having to worry about the next meal only until you're about to break the fast. So yeah, it's actually a lot more easier to focus in this situation.
And I have a quick question, like a side note. Some people think obviously, trading cryptocurrency is haram, right? Because it's
Yeah.
speculative. But would you say that only certain projects are haram, like meme coins maybe, because they have no real utility, whatever that means? And would you say that
Yeah.
utility tokens, like I don't know, maybe certain blockchains that focus on medical records or track and tracing food products towards from supermarket to the farm, you think like trading those is more of a good thing to do during the season or not necessarily? How do you decipher?
I'd say so. Yes. Yeah. Because they're actually trying to like solve a problem, and what's it called? Yeah. So obviously, if it's actually trying to solve a problem and there's actually other use other than holding on to the token, then it's you're actually doing something to make a change to the world. I'd say those type of tokens, like utility ones, are okay to hold on to.
So is that what you're not trading meme coins right now, is what you're saying? You're only trading things that hold utility.
That's correct. Yes.
That's during Ramadan. Like before and after Ramadan, you can go back to trading anything.
I mean, ideally, I should really stick to the tokens that are for what's it called
Ideally, that are
for the use
Islamic,
of the world. Yeah.
compliant with Islamic halal laws. I understand that, but ideally,
Yeah.
realistically speaking, for making, because even Arthur Hayes, Arthur Hayes, right, the one of the richest crypto billionaires in the world, his VC firm, his venture capitalist fund that manages his money, he's the only investor and he has employees. They go ham on meme coins too. Like one of their main things is like, hey, we're gonna make tons of money on lower cap meme coins or lower cap unproven tokens, which technically have no utility because they're unproven. They're trying to find utility. So would you
Yeah.
say that you would at least have a bit more of a spectrum of what you trade, like when it's not Ramadan and it's more stricter in Ramadan, or not
Um,
necessarily? Or is it the exact same
it's
trading strategy the whole year
Yeah,
round?
it's just that like meme coins aren't really my type of thing, to be honest with you. I'm more interested in like the main tokens because a lot of the times 99% of the meme tokens they go down to zero. And like I said, it's you have to be like really lucky to be able to sell it on time before it crashes. So that's why there's like a lot of high risk involved with that.
I want to ask a quick question. Okay, Shibarim, you know that it's used by the United Arab Emirates right now, the Shibarim network, the Shiba Inu level 2 on
Yeah,
Ethereum, on Ether. So is Shiba Inu right now, because the operating system, they have a network of operating systems that work with different countries. They're starting with the UAE, then probably going to go to breaking news, maybe a country not in America or Asia next, to help with
yeah.
their infrastructure. Putting everything, basically what that means is they're taking all the government forms, like basically transactions of money, and putting it on the Shibarium net, which is backed by Shiba Inu as the main token, the main liquidity token. Would you say Shiba
Yeah.
Inu is Ramadan, or and during Ramadan especially, would you say it's halal or haram?
Um, in this case, it would be one of those main exceptions because of the fact that you mentioned it has some form of utility by using its liquidity for something. In this, this would be like one of those exceptions where you could use it. Yeah.
It's an impressive answer. Okay, so with crypto markets running 24/7, do you notice any unique trading patterns or like quieter moments during Ramadan? Like maybe after when everyone's breaking their fast? Could you say that after sunset, in between sunset and sunrise, that people are trading a bit more, or not necessarily?
Um, I wouldn't think so. I mean, I have to just quickly. It's one of those because I normally check the daily and the weekly charts. You see, so you don't really see much trend in that aspect. Um, it depends on your trading strategy as well, because obviously, if you're one of those that doing the short-term traders, like within the day, then it'd be more useful for myself to look into. But because obviously I only do weekly and the daily charts, I wouldn't really notice much of it.
Okay, so we're part of the crypto communities, obviously, for what we're our system on track, and also aside from that, I'm actually hopping on a call at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my time, that has to do with basically crypto chatter. We're going to be talking about XRP, which some people think is a utility token. Some people think it's basically just a meme coin that pumps because of the community. So I'm setting the stage to ask this question: what is it like to be part of these crypto communities while observing like Ramadan? And have you noticed this may be haram or halal? You might want to start with saying it's haram or halal first before you
Yeah.
answer. What Ramadan themed tokens or memes have you been seeing coming out in the past like couple weeks?
Um, for me, I usually only look at the main tokens. So for myself, I don't really notice much with Ramadan themed tokens, but I have seen
Would they be
obviously.
haram or halal if they were Ramadan themed? Because they wouldn't necessarily have a utility unless somebody creates like a system where people can basically track the sunrise and sunset around the world on a blockchain, and they create a token, right?
Yeah, but at the moment, I think it's kind of like early stages for that type of thing to happen, in terms of its like development. But I know obviously at this period, people just use the apps and stuff to find out when the sunrise and sunset
Yeah, but
is
you can also do
around the
that on the
world.
blockchain. Some people say that it's not necessary, but look at Solana. They just launched they have their own cell phone products that compete with iPhone. And what's
Yeah,
they obviously have their specific niche strategies for marketing. Oh, yo, basically on our chain, on our phone, you have automatically all the data for cryptocurrency in the world, especially the Solana blockchain on there, and it's based on apps that are on the phone when you buy the phone. You don't think that that could be something that they could do for Ramadan themed tokens if they were to launch them? Like basically be like, hey, listen,
um,
you're supporting Ramadan. Like for example, we're launching Ramadan themed token that helps you track sunrise and sunset, right? And proceeds from this token that we raise for every what X amount of money we raise, we give a portion of that to donate it to buying lamb for the less fortunate, right? You have to give one third of
yeah.
lamb to less and less fortunate at the end of Ramadan. You think something like that would work or not necessarily?
Potentially, but I do think it's more of like a seasonal thing. So you'd have to adapt to the times that when you're using tokens like that. So it's kind of like when people do like businesses with like Christmas and stuff, where it's only good for that period, but then after that, it's just like it becomes dead because people aren't going to use it then.
You
It's
can't do it
it's
like all year and basically be like, we're raising we have this project all year, and our business model is that during the month of Ramadan, we give all our proceeds back, all our donations back. That wouldn't work.
Um, but potentially, it's one of those that you'd have to like what's it called, investigate further towards really. And I know obviously there's other times during Ramadan where you can look into in terms of like preparation and stuff, and like when people do the pilgrimage, the Hajj period, like things like that might be useful actually.
Okay,
Where
that's fine, because the reason I'm asking you specifically, I don't mean to cut you off, is because obviously in the Catholic religion we have the Pope, right? In
mm,
in most I consider Catholic a denomination of Christianity because it is. They believe in Jesus Christ, and most Christian religions we have some kind of a leader, right? In the Jewish religion, you have rabbi that
yeah,
interprets. They interpret the Torah, right, or the first. They interpret whatever book we have. The Bible
mm,
in Christianity, especially Catholicism, the Torah, I believe it's called, right? The first books,
that's
basically
correct. Yeah,
yeah. In the Hebrew, the Jewish religion, I almost said Hebrew, they
mm,
interpret what everything means. And in Islam, one thing I find fascinating is that there's no leader on earth, right? There was Muhammad was the last prophet. Obviously, just want a side note, you guys also believe that Jesus Christ was a prophet as well. Shout outs to you guys for that.
absolutely. Yeah,
So Muhammad was the last prophet. After him, you guys don't have like a church leader. Everybody reads basically the Islamic scriptures themselves, right? The Quran. And you read it and you
that's right.
interpret it yourself. So you obviously know as much as an Islamic scholar would know, in theory, what is halal, what is haram, what is Islamic compliant, what is not Islamic compliant. So you're saying that you think a token that is launched for the purpose of Ramadan, basically feeding the impoverished populations after the Ramadan during the festival, that launches all year round, basically just to establish this blockchain to keep the blockchain alive just for the 1 month, on the whole one holy month of Ramadan. You think that that wouldn't be halal?
I wouldn't say that it's just like yeah. I mean, obviously, people do things in preparation for a certain event or like a certain month. So I think it is something that could be useful in the future. I was just talking about things in terms of its utility of doing it just for that one purpose, or if it's done for other periods during like Islamic periods. Really, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
I totally
Um,
understand that. I just wanted to get like an idea because I honestly do believe that the future is going to be decentralized blockchains. Like that's where we're going. I was a skeptic years ago because haram scams, but
yeah,
one thing that really attracted me to the crypto space was the technology and the fact that nobody can control it. That's really where I see the point. Basically, the main PowerPoint selling point is going into the next 5 to 10 years as well. As society becomes increasingly libertarian around the world, right? The populist movement is a faction of the libertarian movement.
yeah.
So the next question is fasting from sunrise to sunset. How do you manage the energy for analyzing blockchain data or jumping on a DeFi project opportunity during Ramadan?
So for me, I try to avoid doing like physically intensive jobs. So for mostly for myself, I do jobs like that doesn't require too much energy, like physically, because obviously I have like a desk time, a daytime job, desktop mainly, and then in the evenings I just do like another job that doesn't require too much physical force. So for me, it's more to do with like um, trying to like take things easy and not try to rush things around and stuff because you know that you have to reserve some of that energy before the end of the night, and I also think it's to do with like breath control as well. When you like do a lot of like mouth breathing, it can sometimes like consume more energy. So learning to breathe through your nose more and breathe out through your mouth, that it helps maintain your energy levels. And it's also like doing the prayers on time, where you do like the cleaning ritual, that actually helps a little bit with your energy levels. I find it actually makes it easier to go through the day, especially when you pray on time.
That's good because honestly, like I understand how what fasting feels like in the sense that I can actually go I've done the 3-day fast. I've done it in a while, but I
Mm,
can go a whole day without eating food. Literally, it really doesn't phase me. I can go to 6 because I already do intermittent fasting on a daily basis. I wake up like 6:30, 7 a.m. I don't eat
mm.
anything until 12. If I'm out there working, I don't eat anything until 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 p.m. However, the thing that gets me is the not drinking part, because I know Muslims that are even afraid to brush their teeth after sunrise because they're afraid that some of the water might go into their system. So for me, the fasting part is easy if I could drink liquids. The not drinking liquids part is what will really get to me because the thirst. And again, you're a strong person for doing it in a Western country because a lot of these Muslim countries like UAE, they cut down on working hours. If people work 7 days a week, they work 5.5 days a week instead. People will
Yeah,
they'll work half days. Instead of working 9 to 5, they'll work 9 to 12, right?
mm,
So again, you're really strong for doing it in a Western country. So
of
next
course.
question is, I read crypto trading might slow down during Ramadan, like we talked about before. But I'm setting the stage for another question, which is, have you ever turned a quiet moment in the market, right? Everything's just quiet, dead silent, into a big win, or maybe used it for some soul searching about your crypto strategy?
Well, for me, I see that obviously at the moment the markets are going down in terms of its prices. So I sort of see that as like a buying opportunity if things do go well. At the moment, I'm actually doing like a what's it called, like trading course. So and they said it's recommended that I must finish that course before continue to buying or selling. So at the moment, even if things go up or down, I try not to like engage too much into it, but just basically see the trends that I'm seeing from the charts, but based on like what I'm learning right now. So in this situation, I'm more or less like using it as opportunities so that when I do finish the course in the future, I can use that to, you know, buy tokens from like based on what I've learnt.
Okay, so I want to ask this final question. It's going to be an interesting one. It's kind of a curveball. We haven't talked about this.
Yeah.
I've done Ramadan before. I remember doing it during the London Olympics because sometimes when for me Ramadan was always summertime. So having Ramadan during the winter now makes no sense because now that's when I started learning about Islam. But now I
Yeah.
get it's all year. It could be any time of the year depending on basically the Islamic calendar. Have you noticed a trend that crypto seems to be dead every year during Ramadan, or is that not the case?
Um, I'm not too sure actually, because
Well,
no,
your recent history, the past few years, you've been in crypto for like 3 or 4 years now. Have you noticed anything? You can't obviously. I'm not gonna have you search. That's going to take way
yeah.
too much time. The
Mm,
past 15 years of history of
mhm,
Bitcoin and Ramadan correlation, and it wasn't really somewhat mainstream until 2017. That's when people really started getting into it.
yeah.
So, just in your personal memory, what you can regurgitate right now as we're speaking,
Of course, yeah.
do you remember there being like crypto basically being dead during Ramadan?
Because I'd have to look back which period it was happening, but if I was to look at, let's say, Bitcoin during Ramadan last year, I might be able to, give a better answer for that.
I mean, but do you remember
But
personally? Do you like obviously you did Ramadan last year and you were in crypto last year. Your memory, do you remember it
yeah,
popping? You remember it being slow
yeah. So I do remember it being a bit slow, and then things would like dumping and stuff.
during
But
Ramadan?
then I believe so. I'd have to obviously double
And
check that
okay, in
period.
your how many years you been in crypto? You've been in crypto for 3 years, right?
Not that long actually. I started it in December 2023. That's when I properly got into it.
Okay, so
So
basically last
just
year
over
and
a
this year
year
has
and a
been
half nearly, yeah.
based on what we know. This year and last year has been pretty slow. We're gonna talk
Yeah.
next week, and maybe you can do some research on basically the last 10 years, the crypto trends, especially during the bull cycle year, the year post halving, and see if there is a slowdown during Ramadan before it picks up after. Because again, I remember it being in summer and just
Mm,
in time for the summer lulls, right? The Summer Olympics in London were basically 2013, 14, something like that. And I recall sometime in the 2000 teens, and I recall the summer time where just in time for the lulls. That's when basically you had Ramadan.
Yeah.
But anyway, with that being said, brother, any last questions? Any last comments you want to make before we head off and right into the sunset? Well, before we head off, do our weekly meeting with our men's group, coaching group. Tell us to on
Of
track,
course. Yeah.
and then we right into the sunset for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Of course. I just wanted to double check then. So when you said you did Ramadan during the summit period, how many years ago was that then?
During the London Olympics, and I remember that I was living in China, and we'd wake up every day like at 5 p.m., watch the Summer Olympics in London, and
Yeah.
then pass out again after the Olympic Games. I don't remember. You can look it up on your own. But with that
Of
being
course.
said,
Yeah.
brother, if
So
you have anything else,
2012 that was. Yeah. So
yeah, something like
13
that. I
years
don't
ago.
remember the exact year. I remember it was in the teens. But with that being said, just remember, look
Mm.
up a, a trend, send me trends as well, DM of the past 15 years, Ramadan correlation and market bull cycle or bear market type correlation. Is that okay? Every
Yeah. It's
single
fine.
year if
Yeah.
we can, next 50, like the past 15 years. Obviously, we're gonna see a correlation even going back to the beginning, the Genesis block, because there were also Muslims involved in that, right? Not as many as
Yeah.
it was mostly East Asians. Let's be honest, it was mostly East Asians and computer nerds in the U.S. and Europe, and maybe
Mhm.
some people in Africa. But generally speaking, there were also Muslims involved in that, so we can maybe see a little bit of a correlation.
Yeah.
Although I do know that for a fact, this year it's been the biggest. This year and last year, second part of last year, a lot of the Muslim countries, right? They've been doing a lot of research with regards to Muslim compliance because there is no separation of church and state, right? So they're trying to figure out, hey, how can we break into this market? So I do know that if we look at the past, we can predict future trends because now they're basically saying, okay, utility tokens, non-meme
Mm.
coins, those are halal. And again, we didn't have that before last year. Before last year, Islamic scholars did not touch the space. But now they're touching the space, I predict that we're going to see a big rush of Muslim, really, or just how would you say, like Muslims are
Muslim
religion, right?
traders.
You can't say Arabic or anything. Of people that are that practice Islam actually being able to put funds towards crypto in ways that they could never before. They didn't dare do. So let's look at the
Mm.
past to predict the future. We'll send me an updated email for next week. We'll talk about that around the same time, and that'll be the focus of our talk. Okay,
Yeah.
Islamic
It's fine.
law,
Yeah.
and we're doing this series because you're Muslim and it's Ramadan, so we're going to talk about these things now versus like talking about them later on, right?
Yeah.
With that
Sure.
being said, brother, I'll talk to you next week. Upwards and onwards. Let's get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. See you later.